The peace of Lagos, Nigeria's economic capital, was greatly unsettled, if not dislocated outright, by mindless violence perpetrated by known persons during the last presidential and governorship elections in the state. In the absence of any evidence of strong intervention by security agencies in the state, even when it was clear that the activities of such persons constituted a clear and present danger to everyone, communal relations post-election, especially among people that had coexisted for so long, could be said to have been pummeling, which only deliberate efforts can help to offset. Before we bring in our distinguished guests, let's pause and take a listen to some of the sound bites which have become commonplace in Lagos before, during, and even after the elections.
Oh my God, this is Lagos, eh? I'm telling you, tell your governor, whatever you are, be anything, labor, toba bingre, wá dìbò fún labor leko. This is Lagos, oh. This is Lagos. Sheno lori ibu ni, eh? Tribalism kill you there. If them born you people well, come and vote for labor in Lagos. It's either Sanwo-Olu or nobody. Labor for this Lagos, ma labor kuni. Ni sorire. You this tribal bigot. Come vote. Send a bad in name. If them born your mama well, come the Lagos State Governor. Ever show football.
Stop this. You have to be taken off. I'm sorry. I need to.
Take a look at this one.
So you need to leave the plane. You need to leave. You're a security threat. You need to leave. You need to leave the plane.
He's not getting Madam Chief.
Hold this up. Obedience, I am naked.
I don't think I should get in this for
I
think it's
Hold this. Excuse me, please. I don't know what anything. Obedience.
Well, let's now bring in our guest, Adeniyi Kunnu, who is an indigene of Lagos, a seasoned broadcaster, lecturer, and communications expert. He joins us now to chew on this matter as we make progress. Well, good morning, Mr. Kunnu. How are you this morning?
I say good morning to you, Oji Okwe, and of course, Steve over there.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, please. Good
morning to Mr. you. Kunnu, before we begin, I mean, we just saw that video of that gentleman who I believe his last name is Uju. He was, I believe, arrested yesterday for calling for the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be arrested, or well, actually, not to be sworn in. And I believe some people are saying that he had a mental issue as well. But before that, we saw another video of a young man who had threatened Labour Party voters not to come out during the, I believe that was the presidential election as well. I think what is making the rounds at this particular moment is another video, if we have that, of Eze Igbo of Ajao Estate, Frederick Nwajago, who was arrested by the Nigerian police and the DSS yesterday for threatening to invite IPOB to Lagos to secure properties of Igbo people in the state. Well, he did that in a 49-second video that went viral. He said the move became necessary in the wake of attacks of some Igbo people in the state. His arrest has ignited calls for the arrest of those who have been accused of inciting violence, including that young man we just watched during the elections. Certain quarters have blamed the government's seeming connivance with people like even MC Oluomo, who we heard in a viral video threatening Igbo voters. Now, can you weigh in on all these allegations and try to make a sense of it all?
In the first place, when anybody makes a statement that incites or that reflects hatred or that can be termed profiling, I think the first thing the state should do is to get the person arrested straight on. When Oluomo made the comments he made, I was on a broadcast and I outrightly condemned it. And before the end of that day, he issued a statement telling us that what he meant was different from what words were interpreted to be. But listen to me very clearly. The impression of every state actor when somebody makes mention of something that can divide matters a great deal. So I'll say first that the government of this country, particularly the government of Lagos State, the Commission of Police in Lagos, Benjamin Hundeyi speaks for, didn't do the right thing. The first thing that he should have done was to have invited those who said things they should not have said. Even if you feel like the people in question are working for government or whatever, allegedly so, the role of the security agencies is to invite somebody who has mentioned what he or she should not have done. For instance, the first video you play, those kinds of statements, if they check the metadata of that video, they would have gone ahead to arrest the character that made the statement. And that is the first thing. But the second one is that we do not, battle violence with certain indiscretions. I have to say that the persons that have made statements after we've had the MC Oluomo conversation are also those who have acted very wrongly. And I must say this, that a situation where you talk about inviting people to come and protect the property of Igbo in Lagos really is something that calls for attention. You'd agree with me, OG and Steve, that Lagos enjoys relative peace. And that appears to be why everybody wants to be here at this moment, considering the fact that some areas in this country are areas that have been troubled as far as the peace is concerned for over time. So for these other characters who've come out to say what they've said, I think it is good to say here very clearly that they should be arrested as well. And they should not leave out those who have made statements that could incite or divide us earlier, including that of MC Oluomo. I think the government of the state must realize that its actions and inactions will continue to actually create impression that will make people more civilized and well-behaved or not. And I need to also say very clearly that this is unconnected to what some people have talked about, but it is actually connected to the disaffection of people post the elections. So how do we now address the issue of what people feel like after the election? It is for those who are leading these respective persons that have certain political parties that they've aligned with to be spoken to by their leaders to behave themselves. And that is why a television station in this country has been fined 5 million because certain things were said by a leading figure. Although the presenter that was on show with that particular person, that is Dati Baba Ahmed, said certain things and even said if the presenter was afraid, then he's not. So I think that the leadership of the Labour Party at this point happens to be that leadership that has to speak with to people. Don't forget that anytime something happens and the issue in question is sub judice, then it becomes a call for concern. The leaders of these parties must understand that consistency of intervention by speaking where their supporters matter. And another thing they should do is to ensure that some kind of crash course in political tolerance is done anytime they have the privilege of going on air. These are the levels that they must take this issue to, because it's going to cause more problems if they don't do that. And the country doesn't need anything, especially Lagos, that will affect the security and peace that we enjoy.
All right. All right, Mr. Kunnu, thank you so much for the bit that you were able to, the insight you were able to bring into the topic. But I'm afraid that, we will have to leave it there, and because we have to go now.